Legislative Assembly. House Bill 1248, the start of school. What's the nicest month in North Dakota? For me, it's August. August, July, June, September. We always have 4 seasons, and I used to tell my kids in school that we only have 2 seasons, winter and Spursumfa. Spursumfa. I won't. That didn't work in committee either, so I got to rewrite that one. Okay. Now, many of you have been contacted by your local schools. I know you have. A lot of the superintendents been calling you or emailing you, doing whatever. How many have been contacted by kids in the classroom, teachers in the classroom, parents? Not many. Well, that's what I represent. I'm the one that put this bill up because I'm one of those people. I'm one of the guys in the classroom sweating away in the middle of August wondering why. If I wanted to cool off, I'd go down to the superintendent's office where they have an air conditioner. That was always nice. So we have our school calendar versus our seasonal calendar. In a seasonal calendar, summer starts on June 21st, and fall starts on September 21st. Now, that's just an example, of the seasons versus the school calendars. One of the things, of course, that came up in our committee about what was local control. Local control, that we keep hearing that. And I guess I want to address, what is local control in a school? What do they do? Well, they hire and they fire people. Teachers, janitors, whatever. They have graduation requirements. They set those for their school. They decide which vacations they're going to take. They decide taxes, in some cases, and fees. And they decide pay. Pay is important. Now, if you'll see, I have a little thing on your desk there. On the second page, you have some pay. If you'd look at that and notice that assistant superintendents make $162,000. Well, there's an example of local control. There you go. Anyway, what local control is not? Well, first of all, the North Dakota High School Activities Association starts the set of extracurricular activities. And so they set it, you cannot start before that. That's local control is taken away there. The curriculum is set by the legislature. Preschool, kindergarten was added to schools, done by the legislature. Concussions and bullying are done by the legislature. That's not local control, has been taken away there. Special services, learning disabilities, federal. And the calendar. The calendar, of course, we set many things. Mandatory holidays. Teachers' convention is set by this body. The day after New Year's, if it falls on a Sunday, they have to take the next Monday off. Set by this body. So there's plenty of things in the calendar that are already set by the legislature, and so the start of school would not be, out of the realm of possibility. And remember that we are paying somewhere, probably this year, between 70 and 80% of the funding for schools. Now, in the bill, you'll notice that it says, there's kind of a strange phrase in there about the school year. The school year starts on July 1. So when you read the bill, understand that the school year starts on July 1. And the earliest the activities would start would be on the 13th of August. And if you'll look on your calendar there, the first calendar shows where Saturday is the 1st of August. And on the second calendar, you see that Sunday is the 1st of August. And so they each count as a week. And so the starting activities could start on the 13th or on the 19th. For High School Activities Association. Start of school could start on the 24th or on the 30th. So that's just the range that would happen. It's basically 1 week back from what it is currently. Many schools already do this. Many of the Class A's I don't ever start before the 5th week. One of the other arguments in the committee was that kids are ready to go back to school in the middle of August. And, I question that one. I think kids would rather be swimming and be outside in the, enjoying the rest of their summer. The other argument was senioritis. They can't wait to get out. Well, if you have a little discipline and you have some final tests, I think they would be more than willing to stay in school towards the end. So this idea of the start of school is debated in the 148 school districts that we have. If we pass this bill, we standardize it, we can get rid of that argument. In the last time we had a similar bill, and the other bill that was up is not the same one. That one was after Labor Day. This one is only 1 week later. 76% of the people polled wanted it after Labor Day. Now, there's a lot to do in the end of August. I know when I was on the park board, we had the swimming pool, and, it's in a little town to close the swimming pool on the 15th of August when it's about 120 degrees out some days, it just doesn't seem right. What you should do is take your kids out to Medora and go out there and enjoy that because, that one extra week is one of the most beautiful weeks in North Dakota. An interesting thing that happened in the committee was the High School Activities Association came in and testified neutral. They did not come in and oppose this. They were neutral. They were open to what was being done here. Now, many of you know me as a football coach. I hated starting on the 5th of August. That's hot. And, we did have to worry about heat stroke. Some schools start before other schools. They're in co-op. They end up having to go at 3 o'clock in the afternoon just during their preseason. That's really dangerous. So, heat stroke is a danger, and we have to be worried about that. There's a lot of other reasons I can go on, but I'm not going to. I guess when one segment of our government is hurting another segment of our economy just because they claim the right to start early, we need to step in. We'll be paying 70 to 80% of education, which gives us the right to decide when the school activities to start. And because of the heat, we should err on the side of the children. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Dosh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly. I too stand here in support of House Bill number 1248. North Dakota has great summers. The only problem is that they're way too short. The fact of the matter is, the day we start school in North Dakota is the day we end summer in North Dakota. Not only are we ending summer for our families, but as we've heard, we've effectively are ending tourism in North Dakota, our third largest industry, as it's very dependent upon our youth to help man many of the tourism spots. We're even, as we heard, closing our local pool. In Bismarck, pools close in the middle of August because all the kids are back in school. There's no more lifeguards. And how ridiculous is that? And of course, we're also ending our family time together and family vacations. I don't know about the rest of you, but after waking up this morning, or actually all week long, to sub-zero temperatures, it kind of reaffirms the thought with me and many other North Dakotans that we should enjoy every possible day we can of summer. And that's why, Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly, I'm voting for this bill. I'm voting to extend tourism in North Dakota. I'm voting to extend jobs for our youth in North Dakota. And I'm voting to extend our family vacations. And most importantly, I'm voting to extend summer by at least a week in North Dakota. It just seems like common sense when we live in North Dakota. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly. You can rationalize and beat this old girl to death. We've had her almost every session. I came in 1983, the first time. The whole point is School districts, they're not going to alienate their students or their so-called customers or their parents. They work with the High School Activities Association, vocational education centers, REAs, you name it. They are best fit to make a decision like this. We have no business getting involved in micromanaging the schedules of school districts. Thank you.
Representative Rust.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly. I rise as one of the highly overpaid superintendents that, actually former superintendent that Mr. Representative Schatz talked about. As I look at this form, I can see that I did a horrible job negotiating my salary because it wasn't anything close to that. So I think I'll move on to the bill. I rise in opposition to the House Bill 1248 for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to try to make it very short. First, as a former teacher, I can tell you it is a lot easier to teach kids in August than it is in May. It's just a lot easier. The second thing is that unless you align the starting dates of colleges and universities, you create a whole nother set of problems, and that deals with those dual credit courses that are offered by colleges because they start about that same time that schools are starting now. And most of all, I rise in opposition because I happen to be a believer in local control. We give a lot of lip service to that phrase, and many times not a lot of practice. And I find it very interesting as I look at this bill that the bill applies to public schools. It says a school district. Hence, as I read it, I guess private schools would have local control on starting when they want, but public schools would not if this bill is passed. But mostly for local control reasons, which I am a strong supporter of, I urge you to support your committee's recommendation and vote red. Thank you.
Representative Huskar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Wall did a good job outlining the wishes of the committee, and I would suggest to you, members of the House, that putting all arguments aside, and you've heard lots of them, pro and con, when the dust settles, we all want to do what's best for the kids, not what is best for the business community. Every community has a unique reason as to why its school should start on a particular day. Superintendents and school boards living in that community know what is best for their school. What is best for Hillsborough may not be best for Crosby. School authorities know all the issues that are involved when deciding on a starting day, and I would ask the body to support the vote of their committee. Thank you.
Representative Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly. I totally agree with Representative Schatz concerning local control. I agree we have taken away a great deal of local control through mandates that we have placed upon them. I don't think they need another one. And I think any suggestion that because we are funding education at a higher level means that we should use this as a tool for more control is necessarily the road we want to go down. And surveys that show that parents and students would like more time off in August, I believe that's probably true. But I doubt if the question has actually been asked of them that the trade-off would be you're probably in school in June. A lot of students are very ready, I agree with Representative Rust, to leave school in May. I'm not sure that this is a good trade-off at all. So for these reasons and others, I hope that you do follow the committee's recommendation and go along with the do not pass in 1248. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Speaker.
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative B. Koppelman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Assembly. You know, we keep talking about local control, and I can speak to local control. I got elected fresh off of being president of the West Faro School Board, and maybe some of you would like to know how the calendars are set in the school district. They're oftentimes talked about, well, what did the Activities Association, what's their start date? So are we bound by that? When is, what does the staff want? The committee on calendar committee is oftentimes negotiated in the negotiated agreement with teachers as to what the makeup might be, and oftentimes has about a 3 to 4 to 1 staff membership versus parents of students. The studies have shown that seat time is what drives achievement by kids, and that seat time, with the number of days that we've, I suppose, violated local control in this legislative body by requiring, can be achieved between Labor Day and Memorial Day. Now, this bill does not mandate that, does not say you can't go into June, and does not say you can't start before Labor Day. But if districts would like to do that, there is mathematically plenty of days to do so between those two holidays. So I would encourage you to think of the school boards who are in the position of being leveraged between staff with not a lot of parent involvement, and tourism certainly have never come to a school board meeting that I'm aware of in making that decision. So I would urge you to vote yes on this measure.
Representative Jay Kelch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There was a couple things that were talked about in committee that haven't really been brought up. One of them that Minnesota starts after Labor Day, and that's probably true. There is a variance part of that law that allows school districts to petition and get out of that. My seatmate was asking me about this because she has a sister in Minnesota, and they start whenever they want to. And they've used that variance. Years ago, we were told that South Dakota had passed a law that it couldn't start till after Labor Day. That didn't last very long. They rescinded that law, and now they start whenever the school board decides. I would bet that after those laws had passed, that's when the parents showed up and said, hey, this is not working for us. Let's go back, local control, local decision with our input in front of the school board, that we will start when it's best for our community and for the situations that we have. I don't think the starting time of the school year was going to affect the $152,000 at all, to be honest with you. That's something a school district has a choice, but maybe to get a good person, they had to pay that. I guess that's what we call the market, and that's what we call free enterprise. I don't always agree with that either, but we certainly have to recognize that to get good people, you might have to pay them. With those comments, Mr. Speaker, I would urge that you follow the committee recommendation and vote no on this bill.
Representative Hiller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly. I rise in support of this House Bill 1248, and I voted against the do not pass. Supporting testimony was given by the North Dakota Retail Association and Petroleum Marketers, Tourism Alliance Partnership, Hospitality Association, the Director of Dickinson Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the Teddy Roosevelt Medora Foundation. And I'm rising to represent those people who came in support of this bill. And after listening to both the supporting and opposition, I really believe this is a workable piece of legislation. I think it makes sense for North Dakota, and I encourage you to vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any other discussion? Representative D. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You've certainly heard all the arguments of the pros and cons, and these are the same testimonies we've heard in the last 20 years on this bill. And we keep chipping away at local control, and I just would hope the body here would support the committee's decision on 8-5 to do not pass. This is just a good example of us being able to, teachers, administrators, and parents have input to when they want to start. And the sweep of one brush does not fit all schools, and they can make that decision locally when they want to start. Please follow the committee's recommendation.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, the House has before it for final consideration House Bill 1248. The clerk will open the key and you may record your vote. Kaiser votes green. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? The key will be closed and the clerk will take the record. Final vote shows 35 yea, 53 nay, 6 absent and not voting. House Bill 1248 is declared failed.